Well, hey guys, it's Mike from Just Car People Things. I wanted to touch base and share a little bit on how to repair a scratch on your car. So my wife recently was out. She went to a concert with some friends. She parked the car, and this is one of those concert venues outside where you could bring a little lawn chair and sit in the lawn. Well, of course, someone appears to have swiped the car with their lawn chair. It's got kind of that look of that white plastic metal. And it caught right on that body line on our GX. So we're going to talk through a little bit about how to fix this, how to make it look right. This probably happens to all of us. The first thing, and probably the easiest test that comes with doing any scratch related work, is determining how much of the scratch you'll be able to remove. The easiest way to do this is to take your fingernail and run it over. If your fingernail doesn't really catch on it, it does a little bit here, but not bad. That means you can probably polish it out. Now, by comparison, so let's say you go to this is a stone chip, this is relatively recent. If you put your finger over that stone chip, you can feel it catch because that's actually through the paint. This is just right on the top of the paint, and we're gonna come through and we're gonna correct this. So the first thing you need to do, I'm just gonna walk over here to the detailing cart real quick, just spare stuff. I like to just clean the area a little bit with some quick detail or some QD. And you can do this with your car wash soap or whatever else. But the first thing you're going to want to do is just wipe it down really lightly. Just try to remove any dirt or grit from the side of the car, because obviously if you start polishing here and start taking away clear coat, you're potentially damaging, if there's crap still left on here, you're potentially damaging. So this car had been driven just home and it was clean when it went. So you can see I'm not really pulling much off here with the microfiber, but we'll just come back in for a second time. Roll the microfiber over, and we should be good to go. So I think what we'll do from here, I could go get the machine, and get a polishing pad, and this is a finishing pad, which is dirty, but you could take a finishing pad, and come through and do work with a machine. You can also take like one of these types of pads and try to do a little bit of work. And what I particularly like for this sort of stuff is this is the back side of this is clean, is one of these pads. And I particularly like Meguiar's Ultimate Compound. For you DIYers, for you over-the-counter guys, this is probably your best bet. And so the grand total cost here is about 10 bucks. This runs about $8.99 or $9.99. You're going to want to shake it really well, because when it sits, a lot of the abrasives end up at the bottom. Apologies for the likely bleh on the camera. Maybe we'll edit that out. And so then what you do is you just prime this, dump a little on. I like to set that right there conveniently. And we'll prime this and just get it a little moist with the product. And then we'll come in and we'll just take a crack at removing this by hand. And I like to typically start going in the direction of the scratch. And then I like to start doing the roundy round, which is going to be around and around with that. And you can't really overwork this product. This product has something called a diminishing abrasive in it. And that diminishing abrasive means as you continue to work it, the abrasiveness actually breaks down and will stop damaging the paint. So sometimes I'll actually, because we're kind of mowing down here, that's a Ammo NYC Larry Casilla term, but we'll just put a lot of product on and just go to town here. So you're not going to go through the paint. I wouldn't worry too much about that, especially on a car like a Lexus where you got a little bit more paint. You're going to want to use a fair amount of force. This is probably a medium to heavy pressure situation. And we're going to see if we can't magic eraser this scratch off here, or at least most of it. Now, one of the things I'll mention as we're doing this is that you're going to have to come back through here and put protection back on this portion of the car. And that protection, like a wax of some sort, if you're a ceramic coating person, you got to think about what your coating is going on with your coating there. But we're going to just keep working at this here. Okay, so we got that little stretch done. So what I should do here is take this damp towel, this nice clean microfiber-ish, clean-ish, dampen that a little bit. And what I like to do is just come back through and remove the product that we've put on, relatively easy to remove. And you can see now we've diminished this scratch. We've taken it from really, really noticeable, like first thing I saw on the door when I walked out the door on the car, to now you can just barely see that scratch line along there. And my fingernail is not catching on that. So we've knocked that edge down. I think if we make one more pass mechanically, and keep in mind, you can keep coming back to this, right? So I mentioned there's diminishing abrasives in this. You can come back more than once. You know, I usually take a different part of the pad that hasn't been saturated. And these are junk. After a while, they turn into garbage. I hate to tell you, but they don't last that long. So I put a lot of product on there. A lot of product. That was way more than I even needed. And we'll just work that scratch. Just right along that edge there. And this edge sees a lot of beating, I'll say that. This edge and the edge in the back where that panel kind of bumps back out, they take a beating. It's the nature of how they look and where they are in the vehicle. And how do you know when to stop buffing? Well, we put a lot of product on this, and you're gonna notice the product start to become less workable. It'll haze up a little more. It'll become a little stiffer to work with. You have to put a little more oomph into getting it back and forth. And eventually, you'll just start seeing clean underneath it. And I like to move around a little bit and check the light. So like right there is a spot that I don't feel like it's getting really well hit. So that's probably the deepest part of the scratch, was right on that little lip right there. So that's the one we're gonna focus on. Okay, take a look now. We'll just remove that product real quick. And there we go. 2 passes, that scratch is almost completely invisible. You can, if you're really looking, you might be able to see it in the light right there, but it looks no different than any other part of the car that's, you know, otherwise pretty clean and shiny. So that's the quick process for that. What I do then recommend, you're going to want to come back in there with some sort of protection. You're going to want to grab a wax product of some sort. I like, sometimes I'll use the Meguiar's Ultimate Paste Wax. This is a really solid, kind of a little older school of a product. It even includes the applicator up here in the top, which I find gets really saturated, but I don't need a lot here. I just need to throw some on to protect that spot we just worked on. So I'll just grab a little bit, just haze that on there. And this is a little bit more of a cleaner wax, a synthetic sealant wax. So we'll put that on. I like to cover that whole area that you touched. And that's it. We're gonna take that, put that away. This is a grand total of about probably 20 or 30 bucks in products. These are products that you can use over and over again. They don't necessarily go bad. You'll burn through a fair number of these microfiber pads. But what we'll now do as we clean up here, we'll let that haze up a few minutes. You got to let it sort of bake onto the vehicle. Toss that back in there, and that for that matter. And this thing's like not super clean right now. Like we've been kind of driving it a lot and working a lot. So we'll go through, we'll let that just haze up. Maybe just a minute longer. I usually tell people you like to be able to spell your name in it. You see how it's still really, really greasy looking. It's got to thicken up a little bit in terms of the product itself. But we can go ahead and just take it all off right now and wipe that panel back down. And waxes are fillers, right? You understand that much like filling anything, a wax is going to cover up a lot of the sins, the swirl marks, and all the other stuff you see. And now you can see that scratch is completely invisible. It's gone. We got the nice, bright, shiny, super pretty Lexus-y paint back that's got a lot of metal flake in it. You can also take a light, and you can shine down. And when you shine down on that, you can actually see that some of that scratch is still there. Like right here is really where it's through the paint that's catching my fingernail. But when you look at it from the side of the vehicle, that's almost invisible. So you could come back through, you could clean this with some rubbing alcohol, you could very lightly touch it up with touch-up paint. wet sand or polish and get it back to square. But you know, for a daily driver vehicle, this thing has about 120 some thousand miles on it. That's going to be perfectly fine. We've protected the paint. We've made sure it's not going to get further damaged. And that's pretty much it. That's a quick 101 with about 25 bucks in products, how to fix a scratch in your car. No guarantees. Again, if you've got a scratch that goes all the way through, that you're catching metal, you know, you can feel like there's a stone chip there. I can really feel almost all the way to the paint. That will need to be filled with touch-up paint, and then that's a slightly different process. But for just those little kind of parking lot bumps and bruises, that low speed kind of stuff, you can do a lot yourself without a machine polisher, without spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars. That's a little quick tip for everybody. And the sort of thing we love to bring you at Just Car People Things. It is how we keep these cars looking super cool and super shiny. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hitting like and subscribe if that's helpful. I'm sure there's 10 million of these videos on the internet, but I think it's a cool way to learn how to just touch your vehicle up if you need to. Cheers, guys.